Greetings, this is Charles Darwin, and I'm speaking to you from Picher, Oklahoma, or at least what used to be Picher, Oklahoma. And the mascot of this town and its high school team was the gorilla. So here's a gorilla, also in Picher, Oklahoma. The problem is that Picher, Oklahoma doesn't really exist anymore. And the reason it doesn't exist is because in the early 20th century, there was lead and zinc mining that occurred here, and the company that did the mining just piled up the wastes into hills, and the lead and zinc got into the water and the dust, and the people had high levels of lead in their blood, and they had to leave. The school closed up, and most of the people moved out. There's some abandoned apartment houses right over there. Not quite everybody has gone. There are a few pickup trucks at some of the houses here, and one of the houses has an American and a Confederate flag, both flying above the house. So you can see that political conservatives often say, we're going to stay here no matter what happens. We're going to stay here no matter how much pollution there is. Nobody can make us leave. And so what I need to ask this gorilla right here is not about lead and zinc, but about rare earth elements. Have you ever heard of praseodymium? How about ytterbium? How about yttrium? Well, a lot of the people watching this video have heard of them because they are on the periodic table of the elements, and as taught in every high school classroom probably in the world, and so many of you recognize it, and they're important to us because of the particular way that they are able to conduct electricity differently than what copper can do. Okay, so let's not get self-righteous about dependence upon these rare earth elements. The phone camera on which I am recording this video and the computer on which you are probably watching it require these rare earth elements. So where do we get them? At the current time, the raw materials for these elements, 40% of it comes from China. And so you can see that that's a politically dangerous economic dependence because China is our economic competitor. Well, what do you do about that? Well, there's two possibilities of what you could do. One is you could just sit around and hope that there is going to be some kind of a bonanza deposit of these rare earth elements found. I said bonanza, not banana, I'm sorry. But anyway, a bonanza deposit, and where you find one rare earth element, you generally find lots of them because they are chemically similar to one another. And so you could just trust to chance. And it actually worked because recently a deposit of rare earth elements was found in Sweden. And Sweden is, unlike China, is our ally and an ally of Europe. And so another advantage is that Sweden has better environmental practices than China does. And as a result, they can probably extract the rare earth elements with a lot less contamination. Certainly a lot less than what the company around here in Picher, Oklahoma used in the early 20th century. Or, and this is what I hope to show you, the superior thing that you can do is recycle. I apologize for the road noise that's going on around here because even though there are very few people still living in Picher, this is where US 69 comes right through, and as a result, there's going to be a lot of road noise just a few feet away from where I'm sitting. But this is where the gorilla is, so this is where I'm making this video. So recycling, that's what this video is about, recycling. Old computers and cell phones can be recycled, the rare earth elements reused. A lot of companies already do this. And so the question is it cost effective to recycle germanium, for instance, rather than use germanium ore? And it depends on your point of view. And for instance, some things like plastic, it's not very cost effective. Other things like aluminum, it's very cost effective to recycle. Well, what about rare earth elements? You would think that it would certainly be worth the cost to recycle. But that depends on your viewpoint, because what happens is once you extract the minerals that you want to use, you can just dump the wastes and forget about it. You can call it an externality. And an externality is just something that you choose to not pay for. that it's something that has an environmental cost, but you choose to not pay that environmental cost. That's an externality. And the externality in this case is just dump the wastes and let it affect the people who live at the mining site. And it's especially convenient if those people happen to be Native Americans or other people of color. Right here, Picher is in the middle of the Quapaw territory of Oklahoma. And so if your assumption is, oh, don't worry about it, just go dump the waste on some people of color, and this is far from the only example of this, then it is always worth the cost to use raw materials as opposed to recycling. But I'm saying that the way that is far better for us to do is to recycle, and I think that's something that even a gorilla would be able to understand, right? This is Charles Darwin. Tally ho, and amen.